Welcome to the Kellfire Show. I'm Dr. Kelly Barron, and today I'm so excited to have Jennifer Arthurton on the show today. She is the founder, this name, by the way, I think is the most brilliant name ever. She is the founder of Old Chicks Know Shit, a platform empowering midlife women to rediscover their purpose and potential. Jennifer is a former Fortune 500 executive, also fascinating. I got very fascinated by that. She's turned podcast host, speaker, and mentor. Jennifer helps women navigate reinvention with confidence. And at the end of the show, we'll let everybody know your website. But I've been on it quite a bit, and it's just empowering just to read the stuff on your website. It's very exciting. And through her podcast, community, and coaching, she inspires women to embrace midlife as a time of possibility, not limitation. So Jennifer, welcome. I'm excited to have you on. I love your attitude. I love what you're doing for women. And why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you came to switch from Fortune 500 executive to podcast host?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Old Chicks Know Shit was actually born out of my own midlife reinvention. So in the year leading up to my 50th birthday, I found myself divorced, unemployed, an empty nester, and also bedridden with a stress-related illness.
Wow.
And it was as though every identity of who I thought I was in the world, so wife, mother, corporate executive, and at the time I was big into fitness, everything was stripped away from me in a very, very short space of time. And what was really scary was I didn't know who I was if I wasn't playing those roles. If I didn't have those titles, I had no idea who the woman underneath those titles was. And even more importantly, I didn't even know what I wanted for my life. Right? So I had been so busy checking all the boxes and doing all the things that we're supposed to do, from, the time I was a young girl, like go to school, get good grades, go to a good college, get a job, work your way up the corporate ladder, have a kid in there, live in a nice, suburban house, doing all the things. And I kept saying to myself over and over, I did everything right. How did I end up here? And after, throwing myself a big old pity party for a very long time, I came to this realization that I had never actually checked in with myself along the way to say, is this what I really wanted? Is this what's truly making me happy? I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, what was expected of me. And so, after, like I said, throwing the big old pity party and really doing some deep soul searching, I realized that I was 50, I had maybe 30 or 40 years ahead of me, and that I could I had created the situation that I was in, and that I could recreate my life to be whatever I wanted it to be. I could live on my own terms if I could just figure out what it was that I wanted. So that began a very deep personal development and really a spiritual journey to figure out the woman underneath it all.
I think there's so many of us. I think we don't talk about it enough, but I think there's so many of us, I'm 54, that have come into this time in our lives and are going through the exact same thing that you've gone through. And no one, our moms or grandmas, they don't prepare us for this part. Like you said, we're prepared for the role. And mother, wife, work, and we don't know what else. What are we supposed to do after that?
So and it's interesting because I while all this was happening to me, I thought it was a me problem. Like I thought I had done something wrong, like there was something wrong with me because everybody else's life was just going along like honky-dory, like nobody's facing these crises that I am. And it was only when I started talking about it that I realized, to your point, is that so many of us are experiencing this at various degrees and level, maybe not quite as drastic as mine, but we're all experiencing it, but nobody's talking about it because we think we're not supposed to.
Exactly. Or, I've come across women that eventually open up and they're like, well, I'm embarrassed to say because I feel like I failed.
Exactly.
And if they look around and if if I look around, any of us, and when we see our friends, those that are in the honky-dory, as you said, lives and periods of your lives, I would say pull back the curtain and really see what's going on. Some of those people are amazingly happy. Their lives are going great. And some of them, it's just, they're just putting up the front.
Yeah,
Because again, they're
absolutely.
embarrassed or uncomfortable to talk about what's really going on.
Yeah. And, the thing for me was probably in the last maybe 4 or 5 years of my career, I would find myself like in meetings, in a boardroom or whatever, and I'd be looking around the table and I'd be thinking, is this it? Is this like really what I work so hard for? Is this like, is this all there is? And there was this kind of like niggling little voice underneath questioning. But I didn't know what to do with that voice because I had invested a lot to get to where I was. And I wasn't about to just like blow it all up before what? I didn't even know what. And then the second part was I was scared. So if it's not this, what is it? Right? And there was a big question mark in front of me. So I mean, I would tell that little voice to shut up, go sit down. I got work to do, like all the time. And when I talk to the women in my community, who reach these crisis points or this point of questioning, that questioning started before, but they just weren't paying attention to it, right? So when they look back, they're like, oh yeah, that's right. I kind of knew something was not right. So like we have everything that we need inside us, and that little voice that's trying to communicate with us is so important, but we've never been taught how to listen to it, or even better, how to trust it.
Oh, I agree. Like you said, I didn't do it. We don't check in with ourselves along the journey. I mean, we're going through some major phases between, being young to then if we married to then being a mother, careers, and at what point did we ever check in with ourselves to say, are we happy? Are we okay? Are things going the way that they're supposed to go in? Or we're checking the boxes and just doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
I think that's a huge point, and it's so missed. And I wish if we could teach the younger girls, the younger generation coming up, if I could teach that, that would be great.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And I think it is changing a lot. Like I interviewed my daughter on my podcast a little while ago because she had a front row seat to the good, the bad, and the ugly of the whole reinvention process. And I wanted to understand like what impact that had on her and how she thought about her own life moving forward. And, like she said, I'm so excited to see what I'm going to be doing when I get to your age. Like, I can't wait till what my next chapter is. And that was interesting for me because I never thought about a next chapter. Like, that just wasn't within my frame of reference. Like, nobody told me, there was something that you could be doing something else. We are just fed this narrative that, you work your job, you retire, and then the rest of it's kind of this fuzzy picture where, you ride off into the sunset on the arm of a handsome man, with a pot of gold under your arm. And every time I thought about that, I was like, but that's not my reality. But what we don't realize is that we were never meant to be the same person from the beginning to the end of our lives. We were meant to change and grow and evolve. Right? And that means like our careers, our lives, what's important to us, right? And being able to honor all of those changes. But again, we are taught, you're this is the box that you fit in, and you stay in that box till the day you die.
Right.
It's doing us all such a disservice because there are so many parts of us that need to be explored.
Right. It's, I don't know why I just pictured this. I pictured this little like basic Amazon box that we're in. And then I thought, but we want to be in this beautiful black velvet box with the gold ribbon. And we have a right to change into that one if we want.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what made you go, okay, you know what? I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start my website. I'm going to start this whole new separate chapter of your life. What brought you to that? What inspired it?
Yeah, it wasn't, it wasn't as simple as, I woke up one day and I had like a brilliant idea and I was like, oh, this is my new path. It really was a process of, really reconnecting with myself and really discovering myself because, like I said, I'd been so busy like doing, right? And I hadn't paid attention to myself in any of it. Right? I was kind of last on the to-do list. And so when I realized that I didn't know who I was, I started a bit of a journey to figure that out. And, that meant being with myself, just like you would build a relationship with a person, a new person, like you would spend time with that person. You would ask them questions, right? You would see what are your likes and dislikes. So it really was a journey of kind of coming back to myself and, even asking myself questions like, well, what should I do versus what do I want to do? And even that, like deprogramming the shoulds, like that's, I call this the chapter of unlearning and relearning. Because
Right, yes.
even if it's like, well, I should have a salad for lunch, but really what I want is an Oreo cookie, right? Was to allow myself to say, okay, I'm going to honor my wants. Of course, like if I had Oreo cookies for lunch every day, not the best
Right.
choice. But in that particular moment, like, do I want an Oreo cookie? Do I want an orange? As opposed to, well, you should have this. And so it really was a process of getting to learn my own likes, dislikes, what was coming up from the inside, and then honoring that in small little ways, right? So, even like there would be days where I'd be like, okay, well, I just want to go to the park. And I'd be like, okay, let's go to the park. And then it's like, I want to sit under a tree. Okay, let's sit under a tree. And so it really was like building, like listening to that little inner voice and honoring it, and then building a relationship with it. And that little voice led me to write about my experience, like everything that was happening inside me. And I was like, okay, writing is great. It's very therapeutic, to put it down. And then it came to me that I'm like, okay, you need to publish this. And I remember thinking at the time, no, we're not putting all this out for all my business out on the internet for the world to see. But I did it. I remember the very first blog I published on the Old Chicks No Shit blog. I had to sit on my hands for 3 days to not go back and delete it, because I'm like, why am I putting all my business out there, right? But what happened is that, people read it, and then people were saying like, oh, me too. Right? Like, wow, me too. And all of a sudden, this thing that I thought was a me problem, and I realized was actually so much bigger than that, and that we were all experiencing this to some degree or other, was really eye-opening for me. So, when I realized that, I'm like, okay, I've got 30 years ahead of me. Am I just going to like sit around and wait for the end for like 30 years? No, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, what can I do? And then I started searching for, okay, where are the women in their 50s and 60s and 70s who are, doing incredible things in the world? I need to see them, because in our culture, like if you see a woman, represented in media over the age of 40, it's like vitamins, bladder leakage protection, meal replacement shakes.
Right.
All well, good and valuable things, but they tell a fraction of the story of what it means to be this age, to be in this chapter of life. So I started seeking out these women and having conversations with them for my own inspiration. And then I was like, okay, if I need this inspiration, other women do too. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to record these conversations and I'm going to publish them. And even like the idea to publish a podcast, I'm like, I have no idea. I've never done a podcast in my life, but I just figured it out step by step. And even to this day, I mean, I listen to some of my first episodes and I'm like, cringy, very cringy.
Absolutely.
Right. But I just kept going because people were responding to it. And so step by step that evolved into, what Old Chicks No Shit is now, where, I run a mastermind group, I'm doing events, one-on-one coaching, everything just kind of rolled out of that. But all of that came from like honoring that voice inside me that knew the next step. And it was my job to just trust it. Because I always say this all the time, everything that we need is inside of us. It's already there. The answer to every question is already inside us. We just have to learn how to listen.
I think we have to learn how to listen and trust it.
And trust.
Because I think that we spend so much time making decisions for others, whether it's spouses, whether it's children, whether it's your job, your boss. You're constantly making decisions, and confidently, most of the time, confidently making these decisions, and we never really make many decisions for ourselves because our time is over here with the rest of our life. So when we come to these decisions at this age, I think we don't trust ourselves to make them.
100%. Yeah, and I think as women too, we are cultured, like we are conditioned to seek validation outside of ourselves. Right? Oh, yeah. So am I a good wife? Am I a good mother? Am I a good employee? Is my body physically pleasing to somebody outside of me? And so we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for the answers, for the validation. When, and this is the beauty about this chapter of life, like in our earlier chapters, we are meant to be looking outside of ourselves because, like, that's how we're building our families, right? Like, we're nurturing, we're growing our careers and our families. But in this chapter of life is where we turn our attention now to what's happening inside of us. And that transition can be a bit bumpy because, like you said, we're not used to it, right? And we have to learn to build that trust muscle. But as we turn our attention inside to what's happening inside us, what's matters to us, what is important to us, what's working and what's not working, right? That's where we start finding the gold. Like, that's where we start to realize that, maybe I don't want more of this in my life. I want more of that. And as we start making those decisions, right, like, that's what's guiding us forward into this next chapter. So it really is powerful because it's coming from inside us as opposed to from the external validation.
And how do you, so let's say you have a client, and this is part of it. They're at this step, and they just deer in the headlights. They don't trust themselves. They're scared to just cross the line. What advice do you give them, or what's some tips or steps that they need to take?
Yeah, I think pretty much every one of my clients has come to me with some kind of, I know there has to be something more, but I don't know what there is, some variation of that story. Like, I don't know what it is, right, or I don't know how to get there. And the first thing I do is I always direct them back to themselves. And that starts with a really, really small action, like spending some time with yourself every day, not with your phone, no book, no TV, no music, no nothing. Just sit with yourself, whether that's for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. It could be, sipping your morning coffee before the house gets up, in the silence. It could be going for a walk in nature. It could be anything at all where you can just hear yourself for a moment, right? And ask yourself questions like, hi, how are you today? Right? What do you feel like? What do you feel like? How would you like this day to go? What's making you happy right now? What's not serving you right now? So as you ask yourself those questions, you start to build that relationship. And I encourage everybody to start a journal, right? Even if, what you're writing in it feels really nonsensical and random collection of thoughts and ideas, just write them down. Like, give them a place to live outside of your head. Because, over time, as you kind of evolve, as you answer these questions and your thinking evolves, there's clues in there that are leading you to the next place. Just last night, I was actually talking with a client who had booked herself. She had been dying to travel for her entire life. She's just turned 60, has been dying to travel for her entire life, got divorced. Now she's on her own. And she's like, now I can't travel because I'm, single and this, that, and the other. And she called me last night to tell me that she just booked a 3.5-week trip across Europe by herself because that's really, really what she wanted to do, and she was honoring that. And this is a woman who came to me with just, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what I want. I don't know. And she did know what she wanted, but she wasn't giving herself permission to own it. And this is where it comes from for many, many of us. We have these little seeds and ideas of things that we want in our lives, but we find an excuse why it can't happen, right? Mm-hmm. Or this idea comes up and we'll tell ourselves 15 reasons why that's not possible for us, right? And we don't give ourselves permission to own it, right? But as soon as we do, right? As soon as we think, what if, instead of, well, I can't do that, like, what if it was possible, right? And just start playing with it a little bit. You would be amazed how much building that connection with yourself will bring things to the surface that you didn't even know was there.
I think this particular story about the trip resonates. It's actually super ironic right now because I've never left the country. Never. And I've always wanted to do some grandiose trip or even a small. I just wanted to go on an adventure. And my son is in Madrid for spring semester, so he's studying there. And nice. I was like, I should go to Spain. I should visit him. I've never done anything like this before. And I started to make excuses. Oh, it's I would have to go in a month and a half. Oh, there's not enough time. Oh, I'm going to be on my own. Like he'll be at school and he has all these, what am I going to do? And I made all these excuses, and then I got the flight all lined up, and this was last night, and I sat there staring at the computer, and I was like, not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And then I hit it. And I was like, I'm going to Spain. And
Amazing.
but that act of not trusting, because I did, I'm like, how am I going to travel on my own? How am I going to do this? And then I thought, well, you won't. What's the worst that happens? I mean, there's bad things that could happen, but you know, you'll figure it out, and you'll have an adventure either way. So I love that that's what you had with your client, and that's her experience that she's going through.
Yeah.
I think we should all just push the button and
Do the
even if
thing.
you have to close your eyes, just like you said with publishing your first first blog, and just going, I'm going to sit on my hands, because I had that 24-hour window of cancellation too, and I'm like,
Yeah.
nope, don't touch it, don't open that website.
Right. But this is the thing, right? Like, our human brain hates uncertainty, right? Like, or hates anything unknown. And what it does is it tends to fill in the unknown with the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
So, but the reality is that there's an equal chance that it could be the best thing that's ever happened to you. But we never play out that scenario in the what if. We play out all of the negative things that can happen in the what if, right? And
Exactly.
that is an actual safety mechanism of our brain, right? Our brains are designed to do that, to keep us in the known, because the known is safe. So as soon as we recognize that it's like, oh, this is my brain playing tricks on me, and that, yes, there are definitely things that could go wrong in my travels, but maybe this opens the door to me to something I do, or something I see, or opens some part of me that is wildly important and incredible, right?
Oh, I agree.
And just allow ourselves to play in that space of what if, like what if, and all the positive things.
It's so freeing, and it's so exciting
freeing.
when you go in that direction.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. Just, even like you said, spending time with yourself, just taking yourself out to lunch or dinner,
Yes.
go sit at the bar and just be alone as a woman. You know, it's scary at first.
Yeah.
But then it's you start learning about yourself, like you said, about what you like, what you don't like. You may go sit at that bar and go, you know, I love this.
Yeah.
And I feel so different doing it.
Yeah.
But we have to look at, you know, the positives of that.
Yeah. And, you know, like you said, it's, you start this in small ways, right? So it could be just sitting by yourself, or going for a walk in nature, or going to explore, you know, a new part of your town, or whatever it is, just by yourself, right? And then, you know, over time, it just, it increments, right? So, I mean, you know, when I got divorced, ended up living on my own for the first time ever in my entire life at the age of 50. And I was really afraid of that. Like, I had, you know, I'm going to be so lonely. What am I going to do? Turns out I absolutely loved it, it, right? But again, you don't know until you try. And now I take myself, you know, on solo little weekends away, you know, trips away by myself, even though I'm in a relationship, right? Because I love that time to just like reconnect with myself. Like, it's so important, because it's so easy for us to just get pulled in a million different directions all the time. I mean, we live in a busy world, right? So being able to just come back and be like, what do I want for dinner tonight? I think I'm going to have popcorn, or I want to go to this part of town and just sit on a bench, or, you know what I mean? Like, it just being able to focus on nothing but you and what's important to you and what you want in this moment is so freeing, to your point.
And I think when you embrace it like you have, and you know, you're in a relationship now, but that you're honoring yourself because you've learned.
Yeah.
I think relationships become much better because you are happy, you're fulfilling yourself. It spills over into every area of your life, clearly.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, that's another area with relationships. I think if women get divorced and we're in our 50s, and you start to think, am I, you know, A, living on your own, and B, am I going to end up being a plant lady, you know, for the rest of my life? Or am I going to have to get a million cats, you know, just to be joking around? But seriously, women think about that. And I'm going to be alone. And I think one of the first things to do is to get really comfortable and fall in love with being alone.
Yeah.
Falling in love with yourself
100%.
And doing all the things you've always wanted to do. And if you keep that attitude, things will come into your life with very little effort.
That is exactly right, because, you know, when we get clear on what it is that we want, and most importantly, like when we get clear on how we want to feel in our lives, right, and allowing ourselves to have that, we become the things that we want, like we're very attractive to the things that we want at that point, because like we're in a state of gratitude, we're in a state of happiness, which, you know, if you follow law of attraction at all, like high vibrational states that are very attractive to opportunities, people, conversations that will take you places you didn't even know were possible. But we have to be able to get to that place where we're comfortable to just sit in the now, like sit in the what if right now. Right?
Right, exactly.
When we can be in that place and, like you said, just be happy and be comfortable with where we are, right? We open the door. And this is the other thing. We all have an intuition, right? It's very difficult for many of us to connect with that intuition, right? And people will say to me all the time, but mine doesn't talk to me. I don't hear it. And I'm like, yeah, it's absolutely talking to you, but you're just not aware of it. But when we're in that state of like happiness, gratitude, you know, being with what is, all of a sudden we become a very open channel for that intuitive voice that's inside of us. Right? Because it exists in everyone. It's not like some people have it, some people don't, some people can hear it. It's talking to us all the time. And that, like specifically in this chapter of our lives, is, you know, honoring, honing, and developing that connection to our intuition is what this chapter is all about. Because like I said, it's no longer about what's happening outside, it's what's happening inside. That is the guide to the life that we want.
Yeah, and I think rolling back to the trust, you know, trusting yourself enough to be open to it. I mean, we don't give ourselves enough credit. We don't trust our decisions, but yet every woman, whether you've been in the workforce, whether you've run your home, raised kids, all the stuff that you've done to help other people survive, we're experts at surviving. We just don't trust ourselves.
Exactly.
We've helped everybody else survive. We've done multiple people at one time, and then we get to us and we go, oh, what are we, you know, I can't live alone, or I can't travel alone. And you're like, what have you done? You've pulled off probably the biggest feat in mankind. You've raised humans, or been in a relationship, or your job. We are so adapted for this, and we question ourselves, and it upsets me 100%. So much when women don't come out of that shell and trust themselves.
Well, and you know, I'm so glad that you said that, because I mean, I say this to all of my clients, and then eventually they come back to me and they'll always agree. But I'm like, every experience that you have had, from like your own personal life experience to your raising your kids to all of the challenges and obstacles that you faced in your career and all of these things, every one of those things is preparing you for where you need to go next. You just can't connect the dots yet. But when all of a sudden, you know, the same client that I was talking about yesterday, who was, you know, very, very stuck when she first came to see me, she now has this big, beautiful vision for her life. And she said to me, oh, now I see why that thing and that thing happened, because this is exactly what I need to go here. Right? And so I have this thing called the badass list, right? Where I make all of my clients go back and review their lives and the things that they've accomplished. And half the time they'll look at me and go, what, is this really me? Like, it's incredible. Yes. But we tend to gloss over it, and we tend to and this is my other pet peeve, is as women, we tend to downplay our accomplishments. Right? Like, we'll be like, oh, well, that just was just that, or, you know, I just had to do this thing. And I'm like, meanwhile, when you write it down on paper, right, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, that was a big thing I did. Right?
Oh, exactly.
And you realize how much stronger, smarter, and more capable you are when you actually see it on paper. Because you're looking at this resume going, holy cow, I don't even believe that's me, but it is. And that is like key in terms of bolstering yourself for, like, if I did that, I can do this with no problem.
So I was listening to this speaker, and I don't know, you know, there's no research behind it, and I don't even know how you could research this, but his philosophy on why women outlive men, which I always just assumed it was lifestyle habits. I mean, things of that nature. His point of view was women outlive men because women are the bearers of wisdom. And everything that we've done in our lives, which, like you said, unless you write it down and look at it, you think, oh, this is my job, or this is nothing, or downplay it. We're supposed to then go on to not only our children, grandchildren, or nieces, nephews, anything like that, the younger generations. Our job, once we're done having children, is to impart that wisdom and help bring the next generation 100%. Along. And I was like, you know, there's no way of proving this, but I mean, I like it. It sounds good. It sounds very like it could be very plausible.
For sure, and I've seen this, and I think there actually might have been some studies done on this, or anecdotal studies at best, probably, but they call it the grandmother effect. And so the only other mammal on the planet to go through menopause are killer whales, orcas. I don't know if
Yep.
you've heard this before, right?
Yeah.
And that when they go past menopause, then they become the leaders of the pod, and they're taking care of the young ones. They're leading the pod to food, right? They're like helping to navigate all of that. And that's exactly the same equation that we're talking about here,
Right.
where, right, we have all of this experience and wisdom. And, you know, by us living into our power, by us stepping into and owning our power and our wisdom and experience, right, we are actually affecting the generations coming behind us, because just like my daughter, they're looking at this and going, oh, wow, I didn't know that was possible. And the thing is that we, like the women of our generation, are like really we're the generation on the cusp, because we're the first generation who have like had big careers and raised kids at the same
Yep.
time, and we have a lot more opportunity than our mothers and grandmothers did, right? So we're kind of on the leading edge of this change. And as we step into this wisdom, as we, you know, create our best next chapters and like really own the powerful women that we are, these generations are watching us and they're like, oh, this is how it's done, right? This isn't the beginning of the end. This is just the beginning of a whole new chapter for us. And so I truly do believe that about, you know, women as the wisdom keepers.
I think you need to have your clients write that down on the badass list. The women in the Gen X generation, you need to just put, one of my badass things, I'm Gen X.
Right.
I have lived through
Right.
this. And
Right.
so archetypes, you know, they have the archetypes, maiden, so that's up to your childbearing, the mother, and then the crone,
Yeah.
which is more like you think of grandma. And now, because technology, healthcare advancements, our lifespans have extended, and also our children are having their children a lot older than when we did.
Yeah.
So they're talking about that new archetype. This is my favorite, and it totally resonates with everything that you're doing. Is the wild woman era, where we're empty nesters now, or the kids are away at college, but you're not taking care of the kids every day.
Yep.
You've established your career, or you're leaving your career, but that phase is done, all the work you put in there, and there's all this time for women. And like the women that you're coaching, we're floundering when we should be in this wild woman stage, where we should be like you said, we have another 30 years. We're not taking care of grandkids. We're not taking care of our kids, our spouses. Put that little black dress on. Get those stilettos out.
Yeah.
Go to dinner. Go on a date. Go, if you're single, go on the trip. Do all the things.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, because when I first came across those archetypes, like many, many years ago now, right? There was this like, okay, maiden, mother, tracking, I get it, right? And then the next one after mother was crone. And for me, I kept seeing crone depicted as this like old wizened woman, you know, sitting on the mountaintop, you know, imparting wisdom before she, you know, leaves the planet. And I'm like, okay, well, wait a minute. What happened between when your kids left home and you became this like wizened old woman? There's like a huge gap in the archetypes, right? So I've termed those the maven years, because if you look at the dictionary definition of the word maven, it actually means an expert with knowledge and wisdom to share. And I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
that to me like is the perfect articulation. So we're old enough to have had all this experience and gathered this wisdom, but we're also young enough to be able to use it to make a change within our lifetime. Like we get to see the impact of what it is that we have created. And so like really living into ourselves as the expert, as, you know, the woman with the experience and the wisdom that can use it for a purpose, feels very empowering to me, as opposed to, okay, well, now I'm supposed to go sit in the corner and just tell people what to do until I die.
Right.
Right?
Oh, exactly.
Right.
And I love that. When I saw it on your website, I was like, wow, I love the word maven and the Maven Collective.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is like, it's for me, I thought you have to be part of this group. This has to, like, I need the tote bag and I need the bumper sticker that I'm like in the Maven Collective. It's like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's so good for people to have a community and a place where they don't feel like, I'm not supposed to feel like this. I'm not supposed to be the maven, or I'm not supposed to, still, I'm going to get told that I'm trying too hard, or I'm acting too young, and I don't have a right to do that. But we absolutely have a right to do it.
100%.
And we'll do it better this time around than we did when we were younger.
Yeah. I mean, I started the Maven Collective because you need to surround yourself with women on the same journey as you, right? Because what happened to me on my journey was, and it's funny that you mentioned becoming a cat lady. Like, the negative thoughts and the fears and the doubts along the way, like, had convinced me that I was going to become an old cat lady, living on the street, like, and it actually caused me to go back into the corporate world for a little bit. And I, was like a month into this job, which on paper was like the perfect job for me. And I was like a month into this job and I was like, oh my goodness, I made such a huge mistake. This is not it. But I let those thoughts and those limiting beliefs get the best of me. And, I had to then, retreat back out of that job and be like, okay, what is the path that you really want? But this is the thing, is when you're alone, when you're trying to make big changes in your life alone, it's very easy for your thoughts to like completely overwhelm you or paralyze you.
Yes.
Right? But when you're in a group of women who are on the same journey as you, doing the same things, having the same fears and doubts, where you can come to that group and say, I can't do this. And then they'll remind you, like they will remind you how powerful you are. They'll remind you that you have all of the skills and talents necessary to do the thing that you want to, right? They can hold your belief for you on the days that you're struggling. And, we have a group chat, and I watch the women supporting each other in this group, and honestly, it just makes my heart so happy, because the power of a collective of women on a mission is awe-inspiring. It's life-changing, it's world-changing. Exactly, right? And the more that we can, gather and support each other as we are going against the culture, really, because the culture is telling us, you're no longer relevant, you're no longer as useful, right? You're definitely not as pretty as you used to be, right?
Right, yeah.
Right? And so we need to build this powerhouse community to say, yeah, okay, that's what you believe, but we're going over here and we're going to show you how it's done. It's very hard to do that alone. And so having the power of a community behind you to help you take those steps and to help you not fall prey to your own fears, doubts, and limiting beliefs. I know this to be true for me, and I see it all the time with the women in the group. Right? They say, I would not have been able to do this without you guys behind me. So it's so powerful.
I agree. Growing up, I had sisters and brothers, but I had sisters, and I had a few close friends, but I was never one to be in a big group of females. It just, didn't resonate with me. I don't know why that is, but that's how I grew up. And that stayed with me. Then, of course, you get busy, working and your children, and you just sort of look inward instead of looking outward to your community. And the reason I started the podcast was because for the first time ever, I was in a dance class, and there was women my age, but we didn't talk. We went, we danced, we left.
Yeah.
And one person opened up about a hysterectomy. They mentioned something, and the conversation exploded. And everybody was like, supportive, and I have this experience, or I have that experience. And that feeling, like, that was the light bulb for me, was, wow, maybe younger years, it just didn't resonate, but right now, that support with women, it is tremendous.
Yeah.
And it fires you up, and it gives you, people you can go and bounce things off of who've had these experiences too.
And I think that's the other beautiful part about the group is, like, we all come to this group with very, very backgrounds and experiences. And, like, if a woman comes into the group with a question, undoubtedly there's somebody else who's like, oh yeah, I've been there, I've done that, or I had that experience, or this is my gift, this is my skill, and then they help each other. So again, it's just like this beautiful, inspirational pod of people all supporting each other. And we all need that inspiration because, our culture doesn't give it to us. Like, our culture reminds us that we need to be dyeing our hair, getting Botox, fixing all of the things outside of us. But our culture isn't reminding us that we're powerful. So we need to build our own little pod, per se, just to keep reminding us that, yeah, like we're badass, right? Our age
Yeah.
is irrelevant. We're badass. In fact, we're more badass because we're older.
I think that that's very true. We tend to just then start looking at all the negative stuff. We don't feel it's okay to be our own hype men, that we're not allowed to be our cheerleader. We're not allowed, that it's wrong to be like, hey, I'm awesome. And when we should be doing that. And the fact that, again, when you get a group of women together, especially at this age, that's the effect that will happen.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. I witness it on a daily basis. It's incredible.
Well, I've had so much fun talking to you that I literally was like, when we're done here, I just want to like run down the hallway down here with like a cape on and be like, I can conquer the world. Because it was very inspiring to talk to you. And it's so nice to get validation, like you said, external validation, but to get validation that our own feelings are okay. Yeah. And that we should be embracing this age, who we are, that we're women, and that it's okay to make our own choices. And whether we fail or succeed, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it.
In fact, not only is it okay, it's important that we make our own choices. Like, it's important for the legacy that we're leaving for the women behind us. Like, it's almost like it's a responsibility to be able to step into and own who we are, and in all its glory, right?
Yeah.
It's
do the things. And if you fail, fail is not a failure. If we look at it this way, how you're setting this up, a failure is just us making the mistake so that we can teach the younger generations, don't make this mistake. I already made it for you, and I'm going to tell you how to do it differently. Exactly. It's just part of wisdom. So don't be scared of it. You've learned a valuable tool to pass on.
Yeah. And I say that all the time. There is no such thing as failure. There's only information. Right?
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
There's only information. That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
I've never said it like that before, and I love that. Well, I always ask every guest, and if it doesn't come to mind, you can let me know later. We have the Kellfire Show playlist on Spotify. It is the most eclectic thing in the world. It's from opera to rap to rock. If you had one song that could be like the theme song for your journey, what would it be?
There is a song that I listen to all the time called Rise Up by...
I'm going to put it on right now.
Hang on. I will tell you who it's by. I can't remember. But I listen to it all the time. It is the theme song.
Is it Andra Day?
Thank you. Yes, that's it. Yes.
All right. I'm going to put that on the playlist. I'm also going to listen to it today after we're done. Yep. But please tell everybody, where can we find you? I mean, I know where to find you now, but where can everybody else find you? Social medias and websites and things.
So my website is oldchicksknowshit.com. So that's Old Chicks, K-N-O-W, although N-O-W works, but this is K-N-O-W. And it's really a reminder, again, of the power that's inside of us, right? Like, we know some shit, right? So you can find me on my website, on Facebook and on Instagram. I play mostly on Instagram, a little bit on Facebook. It's Old Chicks Know Shit, and come on over, and you'll see all the information about events and things coming up on all the social medias and also on my website.
When are you going to get merchandise? That's my question. Like, when are you going to get the t-shirts, the tank tops, the socks? Like, I would be head to toe in that going out.
Okay. Thank you for reminding me. That is actually happening this year. I have been working on it. It's been the hardest thing to find like a really good supplier. Like, I want good quality stuff, right? Like, so I am working on that, but that's absolutely happening this year because there's an event happening that we need merchandise for. So stay tuned. It will be on the website. Hopefully within the next 2 months or so.
Oh, you got to put it out on Instagram so we all, will follow, and then we can go buy and support your mission, but also support the coolness that it is.
Exactly.
Well, thank you, Jennifer, so much for taking time out of your day to come and inspire us and let us know it's okay to be the badass women that we are, and that we do know shit, we know very valuable shit.
Yes, exactly.
But thank you, everyone. And if you enjoyed this episode, please do go check out Jennifer's social medias and her website. And then this podcast airs on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, all the things. So thank you again. And thank you, Jennifer, so much.
Thanks for having me. I loved our conversation.
Me too.